The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to find out about the programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. And for all the programming we have available on the X Zone TV channel, that is part of Simul TV. Just check www.simultv.com. By the way, on Simul TV, there are over 134 specialty international channels, but there is only one paranormal channel, only one channel that deals with unsolved mysteries, the paranormal, parapsychology. It's called the X Zone TV channel. So once again, that's www.simultv.com for our TV side, and for the radio side, www.xzbn.net. My guest this hour is a lady I've had the pleasure of having on the show before. Her name is Juanita Rose Violini, and she is a Canadian. She is out in British Columbia, but on the west side of the Rockies. Juanita is a collector of paranormal stories. She has always been attracted to events on the fringe of mainstream reality. Many a teenager night was spent huddled with girlfriends around a Ouija board, holding hands in the dark, waiting for that stylus to spell out a communication from beyond the veil. They were the perfect foil for an older brother who once waited until they were giddy with excitement and fear, then took a hammer and hammered on the pipes going through the entire house. Well, you could probably hear the excitement and the screams for blocks around. In 2009, Weiser Books, then out of San Francisco, published her book, Almanac of the Infamous. The book was praised by Lemony Snicket, Fred Allen Wolfe, and Colin Wilson, as well as many others, each an expert in their field. As the Almanac was being released, Weiser contracted Juanita for a second book, which she never wrote, but which she wrote but never named or published, I should say. Juanita has also written a third book based on her 35 years' experience writing and producing murder mystery entertainment. This third book is called Clue Trail, The Whodunit to Solution, and was self-published. Juanita is currently dividing her attention between day-to-day life, spending time in the art studio, writing and producing murder mystery entertainment, and trying to piece what she knows and is learning about to use, of subtle energies in each and every moment of her day. Joining me now is Juanita Rose Violini, and welcome back to the X Zone.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
You are one busy lady. I remember you when you came out with your first book, and it was fantastic. And in fact, we still have it in our corporate library, and I was thumbing through it earlier tonight. And let's take our listeners back, because since you were with us in 2009, we have many more listeners, and I'd like them to know a little bit more about you. And what was it like for you as a young girl, with your other girlfriends, getting involved in Ouija boards, and how did your interest in the paranormal progress from that point on?
It was just always there. I guess we must have part of us that is part of our nature, and I've just always been interested in things like just beyond the visible spectrum, things you can kind of see in the peripheral. And I would go back and forth between like just being a regular person. That kind of sounds funny, like there's regular people, but a person interested in normal things. And then I would remember like there's this whole fantastic world out there that nobody's paying attention to. And then I would pay attention to that a little bit longer. I tell you, when the Don Juan books came out, that was such a thrill for me. It was like, my people, there are others. So it just kind of fluctuated back and forth. And when I wrote the book, Almanac of the Infamous, it was a book that I wanted to read, which I think is how a lot of books get written.
Right.
So I was really interested in subtle energy. I've always been interested in subtle energy. And I, of course, wanted a how-to book about how do you tap into this? How can we use it? How can we improve on it? And so that prompted me to gather the many stories that are in the Almanac and to experiment with them.
Now, for our listeners, what is subtle energy? Well,
that's a great question. Subtle energy is, it's something I have a difficult describing on who I'm talking to, but, you know, there's just, what I want to say depends on, it's like, are you someone who believes in auras? Auras are subtle energy.
Okay.
Feelings are subtle energy. Psychic communication uses subtle energy. And,
so we can call it energy that is seen and that is present, that presents itself to a person in a way that is not natural or normal.
Oh, I think it's perfectly natural.
Yeah, that's why I changed it, because it is natural. Oh. Yeah, that's why I said natural but not normal, because once again, it is normal. Geez, I'm having a hard time trying to describe this myself. I
well,
can
the
see
nearest I could come to thinking of it is like, you know, the air feels different just before a thunderstorm.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And even when you're driving, if it's a really hot day, you can see heat waves rising from the road.
Yes.
So that's what I'm calling subtle energy. You kind of have to be paying attention in a certain way to be able to pick up on it, but it's there.
You know, that's perfect. I love it. What is the difference between writing in the paranormal and mystery entertainment? What's the difference between the two?
Actually, there's something that's similar between the two, because I've always wondered, why can't I concentrate on one thing? And I think I am concentrating on one thing. It just looks like different things. And again, it's the subtle energy. So that the energy pattern behind the paranormal and the energy pattern between fair play mysteries, which is, mysteries where the reader or the audience have all the clues they need to solve the mystery. It's the same pattern. It's like an interface or a pattern that is invisible, that is holding up the visible. So, because subtle energy is really hard to talk about, I have an example I can tell you about a result of being immersed in this subtle energy, specifically for mystery writing, like whodunits. So I had to keep breaking down the components of the mysteries into the smaller and smaller pieces so that I could reconstruct it. And now the result of that is I can't read whodunits anymore because I know in the first 25 pages who did it. And it's like, sometimes if the author is really good and clever, it might be the middle of the book, but it is always before the ending. And I guess it's an occupational hazard. But it's the similar pattern of like, what puts this together? So they do have that in common. And it's the same with the paranormal. Where is this coming from? And it feels like a lot of paranormal experiences are made up of different parts or clues that join together to make a whole.
So I guess we can say the paranormal is really the normal.
Well, hopefully one day that will be so.
Stand by. You and I have to take our first commercial break. Exonation, our guest this hour is Juanita Rose Violini, and her website is www.mysteryfactory.com. And we'll both be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues right here from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and don't forget to check out xzbn.net and simultv.com. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV. Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
We live in rapidly shifting times of extreme volatility and uncertainty. Such profound change brings a unique opportunity for the evolution of consciousness. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of Mission Evolution Radio Show, a program that explores the latest scientific developments and deepening spiritual truths supporting human evolution. Join me on XZBN.net, where I interview leading experts in science, physics, medicine, spirituality, and more. By applying divergent viewpoints to leading-edge topics, we uncover expansive and evolutionary truth to assist you on your path to enlightenment. More information and past episodes are available at missionevolution.org.
You know, after doing this show for 28 years, going on 29 years this year, to me the paranormal is normal because everybody I talk to, both on air or off air, at some time in their life has experienced something paranormal. And when they have the experience of something that they have called paranormal, they see how that experience relates to their everyday life. So this is one place where the paranormal is normal. What is your favorite aspect of the paranormal?
Oh boy. I like paranormal things, experiences having to do with time and space. To me, that's fascinating because I don't really think that time is linear.
Right.
And so, I don't know. Did you ever read the Jane Roberts Seth books that came out?
No, I didn't.
Or do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, so this was in the 60s. This is actually where the phrase "you create your own reality" comes from. And Jane Roberts channeled this entity called Seth. And it was basically about you create your own reality.
Mm-hmm.
So she wrote a novel based on the things she learned. And like, do you ever have that experience, Rob, where you see something in your day-to-day surroundings, whether it's on your desk or in your car or in your basement or somewhere, that you have never seen before, but it's really old, so it's like it's been there all along.
Yes, I have. That is a strange experience.
Yeah, so the way that it is explained in this book I read was about how dimensions don't need to be separated by time if time is the thing that is separating the dimensions. And the instance in this novel was of a woman who went back to ancient Egypt. And when she was back there, she scratched out her initials, let's say, onto a stone bench.
Mm-hmm.
So in her current lifetime, when she was in Egypt on the bench, it was unmarked. But when she went back the next day, there were her initials in the bench, but they were now thousands of years old.
Wow.
So what do you got to say about that?
I mean, I'm just trying to follow the thing here. She went back in time into ancient Egypt on a bench.
Well, but going back in time is misleading because it makes it sound linear.
Well, then how could she go to ancient Egypt then?
Yeah, it's one of those paradoxes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with she went back in time. But let's see if I can bring this into, let's say you're sitting where you're sitting right now.
Okay.
And then you can go back in time, but you still have the same desk. But let's say you go back 200 years in time.
Right.
And you scratch your initials on your desk. And then tomorrow when you come into work, here's your initials on your desk. They weren't there today. They're there tomorrow, but they're 200 years old.
That's freaky.
It's cool, though, huh?
It's cool. It opens up a can of possibilities that have yet to be even thought of. It just opens up your mind to a whole new reality, a whole new set of possibilities. It defies science, quantum physics, and the space-time continuum.
Well, I do a lot of random reading, and from what I've read about quantum physics, it actually seems to support it. But it could be just my understanding is warped.
Yeah. I just find it a very fascinating hypothesis. Because if that is the case, there is no such thing as reality.
As we know it.
As we know it. That is the key. As we know it. But that brings us into the multiverse, the multiple dimensions, and so much more that very few people talk about. And here we are in the year 2018, I think. You never know on this show. Here we are, 2018, and the topics that you and I talk about are becoming more and more popular. More and more people are opening up with the experiences that they have had, whereas 10, 15, 20 years ago, they would have never shared these experiences with anyone. Why do you think that is?
Well, there's more people in the world, for one thing.
True.
And so I think you are more likely, just percentage-wise, to come across like-minded individuals. And we are evolving. I think that's true, too.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we evolve, then we're paying more attention to things. And I like to think that basically our lifestyles, we have like the basics are covered. So now the mind is free to ponder other things.
True.
You know, and maybe we're noticing more. And how do things happen? That's one question I'm really interested in. Why does my life look the way it looks? How much of it is because I've created it this way? I think there's some.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much. But how does it work? Because if I have any degree of being in charge of that, and we do on a lot of different levels, then I want to create my most spectacular life.
But isn't that the fact that you want to create the most fascinating life, or fantastic life, isn't that up to you in order to make it happen?
Well, I think mostly, and this is something I'm undecided about, because
Okay.
I think life also contains a wild card.
True, I agree.
And that's, I don't know. But yes, sure, it's up to us, but we have to know the mechanics. We have to know how it works. Like, you can't just say, go build a car if you don't know.
Exactly. We all have our own limitations, but if we want to exceed the limitations that we currently have, we need to learn. Like if you want to learn mechanics and learn how to build a car, I have no doubt that you, Juanita, could actually do it once you have attained the knowledge. It's just like me. When I wanted to become a broadcaster, I had to learn everything about broadcasting before I could become a broadcaster. It's the same thing for example, my wife. She's a nurse. She had to go to medical school to become a nurse, even though she wanted to be a nurse, but she couldn't without the knowledge. And then we've got what I call the dream factor. The difference between a dream and reality is just doing it. The dream is the idea, and the reality is the process from the dream to making it happen.
Yes. Yes. You know, when I remember being quite young, like maybe 8 years old, and I couldn't figure out adults because didn't they know that if you wanted something, you just did it?
That's right. It seems that certain people, when the ages start adding up, they forget that part, the simple part. It just doesn't happen on its own. You've got to make it happen.
But I don't think it needs to be like, well, it is work. There is no getting around.
Yeah.
Learning anything can be a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's different work approaches a person can take. Like, okay, so you know who Edgar Cayce is,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, sure. The Sleeping Prophet.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of people would have to read the book and study it and write things out in order to learn something. And he could just tuck it under his pillow and sleep on it, and he would wake up knowing everything that was inside of it. So that's really interesting and exciting to me, because it means we don't have to follow the paths that have been laid out for us to get the results we want.
Not everyone, but there are those who are gifted, like Edgar Cayce, who had the ability to quote-unquote sleep on it. And then there are people like yours truly who has to go and learn things the old-fashioned way, by studying it, by learning it, by trying it, failing, which in my book is just a lesson to success, and away you go. Stand by. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Juanita Rose Violini. Her website is www.mysteryfactory.com. We'll both be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond. You're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Den.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Juanita Rose Violini is my guest this hour, Exonation, www.mysteryfactory.com. Let me ask you something. What do you think about telepathic communication between people? How is that accomplished?
How is that accomplished? I think it's something that always exists and we block it or we don't acknowledge it. There's communication between people. There's a lot of ways. No, I think everyone is psychic, Rob.
Okay.
And that we pick up psychically from each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we would have more confidence in that if people always spoke honestly. And I say that because I have an example. This was years ago. I remember a girlfriend phoning me, and it was 11 o'clock in the morning. And she's like, "You're still in bed, aren't you?" And I'm like, "No." No, I'm up. And I wasn't.
Well, maybe it's the way you answer the phone. Hello.
No, because I didn't want people to know I was still in bed. I would have been chipper when I answered that phone.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think everyone is, I just think it exists. So there's a scientist, Rupert Sheldrake,
yes.
And he's done a lot of studying. One of the main things he studied is dogs who know when their owners are coming home.
Yep.
And so from that study, he developed a theory of morphic resonance or a morphic field. And I think that same field exists, and that is a venue, if you will, for telepathy between people and animals, between people and plants even. And so, yeah, it's the subtle energy.
Yeah, when it comes to telepathic occurrences with dogs, when Laura was working, she'd work, the 3 different shifts in the hospitals. And the girls would always know, our 3 girls would always know and go to the top of the stairs 5 to 6 minutes before she pulled into the driveway. It always amazed me. Like, I could always tell when Laura was coming home because the girls were at the top of the staircase.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's
talking about communication, telepathic communication, or ESP, is it possible that humans can communicate with other forms, let's say, of plants or fauna?
Yes, I would say yes. This is, again, research that has come out. There was a phrase, I feel like I've experienced a lot of things now, but I know that there was a time maybe in the 80s when people were starting to go, talk to your plants, they'll grow better. I do know that in the 60s, there was a man named Clive Baxter, and Clive was interrogator for the CIA.
Uh-huh.
So he worked a lot with the polygraph machines.
Right.
And he decided that he wanted to test. He hooked up this polygraph machine to a plant in his office because he wanted to see with the electrodes if he could measure the rate of the water flowing in the plant, kind of like when humans sweat.
Right.
So he set it up with this plant, and then he experimented a little bit. Like when he watered the plant, then there was kind of like this happy response.
Mm-hmm.
But this one time he stuck a plant leaf into his hot cup of coffee, and the reaction the plant gave really showed a spike on the polygraph. And he even set up this one experiment. This appeals to both kinds of mysteries for me. He wondered if plants had memory. So he got like 5 people to help him, and he put 2 plants in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And they drew straws, and the person who drew the short straw had to go into the room and murder one of the plants. So he ripped it up by the roots, jumped up and down on it. Nobody knew who the person was who was the alleged killer here.
Right.
And then they all gathered together,
mm-hmm.
and the remaining plant that witnessed this horrible act was hooked up to the polygraph machine. And when 5 of the 6 people approached the plant, there was no reaction. But when the person who had ripped up the other plant that the living plant witnessed went close to the living plant, the polygraph just spiked like crazy.
Wow. The whodunit of the killing of the plant, solved by the CIA and a polygraph test.
You just can't make this stuff up.
No. When I was talking, introducing you to our listeners, we talked about a second book that you wrote, but you didn't name. How come?
The first book, it was published by Weiser Books,
yeah.
So traditional publishing, and it was published. And I got the contract just when it went out. So advance sales were really good, but they did not carry through.
Oh.
So they ended up, I just got to keep the advance. That was kind of nice.
Oh, that is nice.
And I still have this book that I have done nothing with, really.
How come?
How come?
Yeah. I love your books. How come you didn't release it?
Well, I think a lot of people have this issue that I have. We like doing things and creating things, but when it comes to selling or promoting it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why artists bring their paintings to the art gallery for the art gallery to sell, because an artist is an artist, and they're usually not salespeople.
That is so true. Yeah. And I know even in these days I've tried with I've self-published my 3rd book on clues.
Right.
And it was interesting to have the 2 different experiences, because there's pros and cons. So, if anyone listening is writing their own book, it's not the publishing world that it used to be. And it's really worth considering what is best.
Because when you're going to a publishing house, they take care of a lot of things that the author doesn't think of when they think of going self-publishing. For example, the marketing, the media, the press releases, the editing that goes into it, and everything. Whereas when you self-publish, you've got to do everything yourself.
That's true, but there are, these days, you can kind of pick the pieces you want to do, and then you can hire out the others. You can get a distributor. It's great that the publisher distributes the books, but if you self-publish, there are places that will distribute it for you as well.
But I think in today's world, with the self-publishing industry, that is putting a major dent into the publishing houses, that the market is oversaturated as well.
That's true. And I don't think you can get anywhere trying to follow old rules or
No.
even new rules. Like there's been a lot of push lately about how much social media interaction you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that it's not true, but it's one piece of what kind of lifestyle do I want to live?
Exactly.
And if you don't want to live that lifestyle of social media, there are other ways.
That's right. It seems
Yeah.
that with today's technology, instead of making it easier for the author, it's a lot more time intense because of the social media aspects and other aspects that, 15, 20 years ago, an author didn't have to worry about because it wasn't part of what the author did. This was all part of what the publishing house did or the PR house. And stand by, Juanita. You and I have to take a break. We'll be right back. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Juanita Rose Violini, and her website is themysteryfactory.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We'll be back on the other side as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
The concept of a new age has been around since the late 19th century, yet much of its original meaning has been lost. What exactly is the new age? Is it a religion, a collection of obscure esoteric practices, a series of doomsday predictions, or an astrological event? The New Age Chronicles is a unique, complementary publication bringing reason and grounded information to separate fact from fiction. Chock full of valuable information to support you as we make the monumental shift into the new era. You won't want to miss a single innovative issue. The New Age Chronicles newspaper is coming soon to www.newagechronicles.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Our guest this hour is Juanita Rose Violini. Her website is mysteryfactory.com. First of all, Juanita, thanks so much for coming on the show. Well, it was great talking to you. And let me ask you this. With all the work that you've done, the stories that you've written pertaining to the paranormal, the mystery entertainment, that scripts that you do, if you could dedicate your time to any one aspect of the paranormal that you could study, you could really sink your teeth into, what aspect would that be?
Oh, boy. Okay, right now. This is my answer right now.
Okay, yeah, right now.
Because things change.
Mm-hmm.
I find, mirrors.
Ooh.
Really, really interesting.
Why?
Because I see them as portals. Like, they used to be when people died, they would cover the mirrors in the house, right?
Yeah. But they also thought back then that when there was an eclipse, a dragon was eating the sun or the moon.
Maybe it is. I just got to throw that out there.
Oh, that was cute.
How do you know? We're not on the sun. Like, maybe it's an invisible dragon.
Yeah, but the sun keeps coming back anyway. So, all right. So, as far as I know, a mirror is just a piece of glass that has a coating of a reflective agent on the back. You look at it, you see yourself.
And it's the whole reflection, the reflecting. I think that quality of reflecting has something in it that we don't see, which sort of sounds contradictory, but but mirrors. Okay, my understanding, vague though it is at this moment, about mirrors being covered when someone dies would be, well, it's one or the other. So the spirit wouldn't leave through the mirror, or so other spirits wouldn't come in. Do you have any memory of the whole cover the mirror when you're dead thing?
No, I don't have that memory, but I do have a memory as a child. My grandmother, who was from Europe, would cover the mirrors in a thunder and lightning storm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. She never told us why, but, must be something that Nanny likes doing. Why? Well, let's not ask her because we don't want to upset the poor old lady. But I have heard of mirrors being covered at the time of death. I've also heard where the windows are opened up so that the soul can leave. There are many myths and folklores when it comes to death, and I think the biggest reason for that is that as humans we still cannot understand or conceive the process of death. That is why it is so taboo in our culture. We don't want to talk about death because that's finality. That's the end. It causes grief. And the way I look at it is that it's the beginning of a new chapter. When we look at Mother Nature and we take, for example, the caterpillar spins a cocoon. And metaphorically, that caterpillar is dead, but it evolves as a butterfly, a new chapter. So I think that as a culture and as a society, as we grow spiritually and we evolved emotionally, that as we have a better perception of what death really is and what death leads to, we will see that it's not the finality of life, but just the opening of a new chapter of existence.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to mirrors. Can I go back to mirrors?
Well, that has something to do with mirrors, because when we reflect on life, whether in front of a mirror or not, we're reflecting on ourselves. And when we reflect on ourselves, we reflect on our culture and our society. Right?
On some level.
On which level is it not?
No. I mean, where is, sure, we reflect on ourselves and society. Like, do you really think people are conscious of doing that? Very many people?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well, that's hopeful.
I really do, and I can see it by the people I have the opportunity of talking to on a daily basis, like yourself, who take life and ponder it. And in my opinion, the authors of today, like yourself, are the true philosophers, because an author sits, plans, looks at a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that's exactly what philosophers did in the ancient times, when philosophers were the great men of and women of means who would sit back and look at the stars and look at the sky and look at things. They took the time to look at life. And this is why I believe that authors of today are the philosophers of today, because they take the time to look and see how the beginning of the story goes to the middle of the story, goes to the end of the story, bringing the reader a unique way of looking at whatever the topic of the story is.
Okay, well, I agree with you on the condition that I can interpret your words my own way.
Well, now there's conditions being put on this. Okay, well, let's hear how you interpret it and spin it your own way.
Okay, no, so I agree. However,
however now. Ooh.
However, I think that the word look at and ponder are shallow words, and even philosophize, I kind of don't really care for, because to me, all those activities are something that's going on in your head and in your brain.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the information that we get through our bodies.
Well, where is your brain? My brain is in my body.
Oh, your brain is in your head.
Well, isn't that part of your body? Like here in Ontario, wait a sec, hold on here. Wait a sec. Here in Ontario, the head is part of the body. I don't know what it's like in British Columbia.
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. Okay. The mind. Let's go with the mind.
All right, let's go with the mind.
I think that we get information, through
subtle energies.
Well, for sure, through subtle energies, overt energies, and all kinds of energy. But a lot of the normal, can you see I'm waving my little fingers as quotes, the normal things are, oh gosh, you're so funny. I'm forgetting what I want to say now. We already have a story about it. We see something, we experience some kind of energy, we have a story about it, except, it's too bad you didn't get the story behind the covering of the mirrors in the thunderstorm, because that would have been interesting. But if we get information through our body, like it's, once you get information into your mind, into your head, then there's words.
All right, so let me just.
Words are a step away from reality.
All right, well, let me interject here, because you said as soon as you get the words into your body, so whatever you see or hear, right?
No, like there's noises and sounds and visuals.
Yes.
But when I'm talking about the brain, aka the mind, in this instance. When we think about things, I guess there probably are people that think without words, that think in pictures, but probably most people think in words. Okay, are we in agreement there?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm a great believer in the theater of the mind, where the mind is where everything is created prior to it being said or created. Because the picture has to come into the mind before it can be created in whatever reality we're in.
the picture comes into the eyes.
No, into the mind, not into the eyes. Because if you've got your eyes closed, right? Can you picture something in your mind with your eyes closed? Or do your eyes have to be open?
Oh, for sure. No,
Okay.
no. I thought we were talking about direct experience.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're right
No,
there.
that's okay.
But you know what? I've got to tell you something right now.
Okay.
Our time's up.
Aw.
I know. We're going to have you back on because I love this discussion with you and I love the way you think. And, you're one of my favorite people in British Columbia.
How many do you know? No, don't answer that. It's been delightful to be here. Thank you so much.
Juanita, you take care of yourself and keep on thinking the way you think. And I look forward to the next time you and I meet back here in the X Zone. Take care of yourself, my dear friend.
And you.
All right, X Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Juanita, visit her website, mysteryfactory.com. And Juanita Rose Violini has been my guest this hour. Her book, Almanac of the Infamous, is still available, I believe, on Amazon.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.